Yeah, it is a slippery slope for sure. So there is again, folks. If you remember, midway, I said there was a back end part of this conversation that has a lot of people concerned. I saw stuff from Destin Legary. Obviously, me and Destin are good friends. Well, I mean, we're friends. We're not good friends. He knows who I am. I know who he is. I like his work. I do. And we've talked in the background. We're working on something together. It's going to be some sort of a one-on-one thing at some point when our schedules align. But he's agreed to either for me to jump on his podcast or him to jump on mine. But needless to say, I can't wait to work with him because I do like the work that he's doing. Thank goodness he's away from IGN. But he wasn't the only one to talk about this, folks. There were a lot of content creators out there giving the what I like to call righteous smoke. We've heard that from Casante many times. But the back end conversation here goes beyond the series X and S and all the different models that they have. Folks, we are a few days away from the end of the month. 8 days, as a matter of fact, right? September 30th, we're going to hit October 1st. Now, we know that before we hit the 30th, there's a Tokyo Game Show this week. We're expecting some pretty big announcements there. Some are suggesting that the handheld pricing and pre-ordering is going to be, announced there. At least that is the rumor. There was some sort of a Malaysian posting about look towards October 2nd to be a day for news on the ROG. But the thing is supposed to come out in October, folks. We kind of need the info, Asus and Xbox. And my thought and theory originally, because I'm an OG and consoles go down in price, never go up in price. Well, I've been made a liar. New consoles, when a rumored price comes out, is usually the price, unless it's bombastic, right? Crispy, this handheld or these handhelds, the Xbox Ally S and X versions, one was originally rumored to be $549.99. And the big boy, the X model, is supposed to be $900 starting, right? Well, here's the problem. The problem is that we have no release date, we have no pricing, and we have no pre-ordering for a pair of partnered OEM handhelds that are Xbox devices coming out next month, and that is concerning. So my half glass thought theory was like, well, I heard a rumor, right? Like we all have that, and there wasn't Microsoft trying to lower the price. It was actually Asus trying to get that S model down to $499.99. Because then if you can get the model that Fuzzy Velvety has already said is well worth its weight in gold, and you drop it $50, that thing flies off the shelf. That is for everyone who wants an Xbox handheld. And you're going to be able to play all of your games. Now, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's not going to have all of the bells and whistles of the $900 device for obvious reasons. But damn, that S model at $500 looking super sexy there, right? Well, now I have some thoughts because maybe it's not $549, maybe it's not $499, maybe it's $600. And if that is $600, maybe the big boy, the X model Crispy, is $1,000. And I got to be honest with you. I look, the only saving grace, and I don't want to jinx it, folks, is with all of these price increases here, there, and everywhere, including what we just talked about with Xbox. Xbox Game Pass has not seen an increase, which again, bite my tongue. I don't want to jinx it, but at least that has stayed the same. But that doesn't really help Microsoft because, we're already here. I don't know. I don't know who's actually buying Xbox consoles for Game Pass, being now you can play your Game Pass pretty much anywhere you have a screen. right? The Xbox, this is an Xbox everywhere. It's a thing. So maybe they don't need to sell as many consoles. But Crispy, this increase on the old hardware, to me at least, suggests that the new handheld hardware might actually be more expensive. What are your thoughts, man?
Oh man, this is the crazy thing is like I have two thoughts on this. I have one, yes, it's going to be more, and I have another of they are going to try to push you to this new gen.
Interesting.
Maybe not necessarily, maybe it just comes out the way it was now. Maybe they were trying to get to the 500. I mean, logically, I would think that they need to price like the lower end. They should take a hit on. That's the way I would do it. And the higher end, you make money off of. And we kind of felt like we had that going in the beginning of the generation with the Series S and X. And now it's become like, dude, like we can't justify these prices of raising. Now, hypothetically, because they're putting this whole new UI in and everything else, and making it a more agnostic to PC, handheld, could they be trying to get more people to get into that new aspect of the ecosystem? Not to say that I don't think that they could probably release a version on at least the Series X, but they would want to be able to do it on the Series S as well. And maybe that's where the problem lies. So realistically, I feel like we could end up being right because at least both of us said that, they could lower the price. I think more than likely the price that came out is what's going to be, but there is that great possibility that $1,000 handheld. I understand we're not in the same times we were in, but come on, man. Like, that is crazy. I don't care what it's got in it. Like, that's absurd. And to have the Xbox brand attached to $1,000 thing, it just for the following year and the supposed under the TV one, like where are we at with that? Like, I guess like you could make the argument, okay, well, it's a console version PC, but for the console gamer itself, like I don't understand where we're going. So there is those possibilities. I've laid them out. I just, I do feel like it's in the worst scenario and we're going to see it go up.
It's possible. Listen, I know the saving grace here might be that, yes, it just launches at $8.99 and $5.49. It's like, like that was the price we all kind of, braced for impact, so to speak, Fuzzy Belvedere. But what are your thoughts on this, Fuzzy? Do you think just based on, and again, it is bizarre world because new tech is not much more expensive than the old tech that would just had its price raised for the second time.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. And at $8.99, again, the Series X 2 terabyte, you don't have to get the 2 terabyte, but I prefer the extra space, is $800. This new handheld that is going to have the 1 terabyte, that is portable, that can be docked to your TV, is $100 more, and it's portable. Again, it is bizarre world, folks. Let's get your final thoughts, and we're going to move on to why I think Horizon Zero Dawn is the next one to drop onto Xbox, and that is going to freak out the pony community. Let's get your thoughts, man.
It's kind of weird because there are some exclusions on PC parts for tariffs and stuff.
Yes.
And I've been trying to keep an eye on this moving target to some extent. And it looks like full built PCs, and it doesn't signify if they're gaming laptops or desktops. I think we may not see the price increase that we expect. Now, I know the Legion Go 2 is up there. It starts at like 1,100 and goes all the way up past 1,300 or something.
It's closer to 15, dude. $1,500 for the big boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though it's got, what is it, 8 more gigs of memory in comparison, I think the Ally X is 24 to its 32.
Yeah.
I think that one might be a bit of a gouge in comparison. And I'm keeping hopeful, knock on wood here, that they stick with those prices. Like it definitely stands a chance of seeing a price increase from the leaked prices that we heard, where it was like the 549 and the the $900 or 899 deal. But as I said before, I was kind of expecting these to be 600 and 800. I would like the higher spec one to be closer to 800, but if it's 900, that seems reasonable. I still think 600 for that device is still reasonable. Once it goes past 600, yeah, it you start to see other options or other alternatives that might fit better, whether it's a gaming laptop, although I wouldn't recommend that over the PC, because if you're getting a gaming laptop at 600, it's not a gaming laptop. But as far as when you compare it to, like, let's say the consoles, you do have a little bit more freedom. You can use your existing console as like a callback, so you can do the game streaming direct on some of the games that aren't Play Anywhere. You can do the Play Anywhere on that new Ally or Xbox Ally device, or you can do the direct downloads or streams from like the cloud streaming, as far as with Game Pass, if you are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. But I don't know. Like, I think they need to stick to the price that kind of leaked. If they come out October 2nd and say something like, "Oh, it's 650 and 1,050," I think the people that would have been on the fence for that device are already going to leave the fence and just either stick with the console they have or the PC that they may already have, or look at used Steam Decks, which are still going for $349 range. Like, if you look at what a launch Steam Deck was, it was like around $650 when they came out. That same version now is $350. Once again, that's PC parts do tend to go down in price. And I know there was a couple of conversations where, looking at phones, yeah, some of those get discontinued within a 5-year period, but most of the time you can still get those phones, whether it's through the carrier or direct through the manufacturer, for up to 2 years at least, if not 3 years. And you usually do see them at a substantial discount, because with phones coming out, it feels like faster than every year. Sometimes it feels like 6 months there's a newer model, but with those, you definitely see a price decrease. And if there is an increase, like let's say from the Pixel 7 to the Pixel 8 or the iPhone 15 to the iPhone 16, it's usually because of the chipset, and now it has more starting RAM or starting storage space or something to that effect. They kind of justify that $100 bump, let's say, over a similar model from the previous year. But I think if they, and yes, I'm not a CEO of a $1 trillion company or $1 billion company. I wasn't even a CEO for $1 million company. One of the executives, but not nowhere near that level of decision making. But I think it's a bad decision if you're going to release this device, going through all that trouble as far as the partnership and the engineering behind the feel of it, the software engineering aspect to make this device, and then you kill it by pricing it out of its customer base. Like, I would say at this point, if you have to go past that price, you might as well just put this project on ice until people are accustomed to paying for that type of chipset the prices that they might ask for. Where I don't foresee people really. I mean, there are quite a few people I know in our circle that will pay $1,500 for a handheld PC, but those aren't the masses. If you're trying to appeal to the masses, you got to keep it within the price range that doesn't feel like it's more than their car payment, which car payments are kind of gotten out of hand as well these days. But all in all, you don't want to have a device that's not a phone wind up being in the price point of a phone, kind of thing. I think that's where you start losing any momentum you could gain. But fingers crossed. I'm hoping for 550 and 900 be the actual launch prices that they announce on the second. If it's $50 more bump on either one of them, okay, acceptable, at least in my opinion. Anything more than that, yeah, they're only going to appeal to the enthusiast that just wants this device to maybe replace an older device that they already have, kind of thing. And that's where I think they need to look at their pricing and know their customer base or know who they're trying to appeal to. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and you certainly want to see this thing come out of the gate and be an option for Xbox gamers who have been on the fence of getting a Steam Deck or a ROG or a Lenovo, or one of the older handhelds that started it all. And again, I don't know if it's very questionable, the withholding of the price and the pre-orders, and then this happens. So it makes me believe almost immediately that these handhelds are going to be more money. I would love to be proven wrong, Xbox. I'd love to be the guy to be like, yep, see, those were the prices, $549 and $899, and maybe that's what they were, and these price increases happened for the old hardware, and they're like, well, I mean, these were the prices that leaked. Maybe they keep it that way. Again, it's new hardware. They got to make money, and this is OEM device. This isn't Microsoft. This is Asus that is now putting out this hardware that manufactured it. So we're going to see. Ultimately, I would imagine, hopefully by week's end, we'll have an official price and a pre-order date for these handheld consoles coming out relatively soon in October.